Awesome. I will call to order the Wednesday, June 11th, 2025 Conservation Commission meeting at 6:02. Present is Jason Gumper, Elizabeth Stoughton, Thomas O'Brien, and Megan Logan. First order of business is the approval of minutes from the 5/28/2025 open session. Does everybody have a chance to read them? Any questions or changes?
No, I'll just note I watched the recording of them because I wasn't here.
Okay, perfect.
I'll make a looking for a motion.
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of 5/28/2025.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right.
Notice of intent, NOI 2025-02. Notice of intent at 391 North Main Street, Assessor's Parcel ID 13-23-0. For the dredging of Blackman Pond to remove sediment as well as other park improvements subject to the Wetlands Protection Act 310 CMR 10.0 and local wetlands bylaws, chapter 424, wetlands protection. Applicant, Town of East Long Meadow, 60 Center Square, East Long Meadow, Mass. 01028. This was continued from 5/28.
Jump in now?
Yes, please. Just
Okay, great.
introduce yourself.
Okay, yeah, my name is Chris Baker and I'm with Berkshire Design Group and we're the design engineer for the project. And I know Bruce is here from the DPW, so he's the representative for the town. So I just have a couple of slides to go through just to kind of give you the scope of the project and then we can talk about any questions you might have. So the project is very nice. So it is Heritage Park and it's a very large, parcel. As you can see, in the south is Blackman Pond and there's some baseball fields and some existing so currently the park has 2 paid parking areas. There's 3 existing sports fields. There's a playground, there's a dog park, and there's 1 covered pavilion, some seating areas, and then there is the pond area, which is a recreational pond, which is stocked with fish. The outlet was recently replaced, and there are some issues with sediment accumulation in the pond, just because it's never been dredged before since it was constructed. So you can see a lot of the development is in the southern area of the parcel. Here's some existing condition photos. I assume most of you have been there. These are kind of the existing state of things. There was an ORAD that was accepted in December of 2022. So what you're seeing on the screen are the accepted wetland delineations. So there's really 2 major areas of BVW, one coming from the northeast and one coming from the northwest, and they both drain into the pond, which is a land underwater resource. And the pond itself is about 4 acres. So the proposed park improvements that the town is looking to do is to widen the roadways to provide better access, provide additional parking. I think it's about 70 odd spaces. Add 4 multi-use sports fields. There'll be 3 smaller fields you can see on the west. I'll zoom in. It's a little hard to see, but there are 3 smaller fields and then 1 larger field to mimic the existing field that's already there, kind of in the center of the park. There'll be a new playground and splash pad, a new band shell or amphitheater, and then more seating areas and improved walking paths. There'll also be a new maintenance garage and restroom facility just south of the existing soccer field. So this is kind of zoomed in just to show a little better the youth fields. I don't know if you can. I don't have a cursor, but the smaller playing fields are kind of on the west, to the north of the new parking lot, and the new playing field you can see is on the very north of the screen there. So here's a zoomed in version of what the existing pond looks like. There's approximately 1 foot of soft sediments that have accumulated in the pond. Since I think Bruce was saying last night that it was constructed in the 1960s sometime.
Late 50s.
50s,
early
okay.
60s, around that time.
Okay, so there's been no maintenance dredging since then, so just over the years, sediment has accumulated just through the natural hydrologic processes of being impounded. The banks are somewhat eroded, they're very steep on the edges, just from people fishing. And there's some invasive species on the southern area of the pond along the bank. And the proposed improvements are to dredge the pond about a foot over the entire pond. There are stormwater improvements that are being proposed. So there's new rain gardens to treat the proposed parking lots that we have, and then also to put a rain garden on the existing parking just to improve the stormwater. The soils on the site aren't great. They're C&D soils, so we aren't proposing any infiltration. We'll just have detention to mitigate the peak flows and then use the rain gardens for water quality. I guess one other thing with the proposed pond is that right now, people kind of fish from all areas of the banks, and we'll be providing dedicated areas to hope to kind of get people to, keep to certain areas on the bank so that there's less erosion around the entire pond. Depicted on this, it's a little bit hard to see, but we have a lot of plantings on the bank, and I'll show you a cross section. I think that might be. This slide actually shows the cross section of what the new banks will look like. So right now they're steep; they almost are a vertical drop off into the pond, and so we'll be essentially widening the bank area so that it's more sloped, and we're able to stabilize the banks with a lot of willow plantings, some oak, and some dogwood, and then also provide wetland seeding around the areas that are being stabilized with the core logs and the plantings. I did skip one slide here. So just going back to one other major component, and probably the biggest impact to the wetland areas are around the pond. So everything else is just in buffer zone. And so the pond is where a lot of the temporary impacts to BVW are, just on the perimeter of the pond. And then because we're dredging a proposed 4,000 cubic yards of sediment to remove the one layer of accumulated sediment, that's approximately 133,000 square feet of land underwater impacts just associated with the pond. This slide depicts the proposed methods. So we're anticipating it being mechanical dredging. So we'll be dewatering the entire pond, leaving the sediments to dewater in place probably for about a month. Then coming in with mechanical equipment, mostly, bulldozers and excavators to load all the sediment into trucks. There will be a dewatering area, which will be in the upgradient area. So they'll stockpile it there. There's erosion and sedimentation controls around that area so that the sediment doesn't, drain back into the pond. And then once that's dewatered there for a couple of days, they'll load it onto trucks and remove it off site. We did do the sediment sampling, but we don't have the results back yet. So we're hoping that the sediments are not, contaminated, and we won't have an issue disposing of it, but that's still to be determined. So while the pond is dewatered, there will be cofferdams on both this plan is rotated, so north is to the left. So the water that's coming in from the rest of the park on the northeast and northwest corners, there'll be cofferdams there to collect any sediment that's coming down from those tributaries. And there'll be what we're proposing as plastic lined channels that will help bring the water that still will continue to come into the project area into a pump area, so that we can continue to dewater the pond during this 1 month period so that the sediments will dry out. So that's that. And I already showed you this. I'm just listing the impacts. So there's 1,600 square feet of BVW because it's about a foot around the entire pond. And then there's 1,600 linear feet of bank impacts. And so those will be essentially replicated in place. The BVW will put just a little bit inland, so up gradient, just up gradient of our new bank. There'll be replicated BVW right along that bank. And then the land underwater those impacts are temporary from the dredging, and the pond will be the same size as it is today. I did touch on this briefly, but the stormwater management, the site has C&D soils, so we're doing what we can on the site. The new paved parking lots will have storm scepters to remove TSS, and then there'll be a subsurface detention system just to mitigate the peak flows. The basketball courts, we won't be removing TSS because it'll just be, obviously there won't be vehicles on there, so there shouldn't be a sediment load associated, but we're still putting 2 deep sump catch basins there, and then another subsurface detention system just for the peak flows again. And then there will be new impervious surfaces associated with the additional parking that I talked about, the new building for the maintenance garage, and then those will be directed to rain gardens. And then I also talked about the existing parking that we're also going to improve with a rain garden from that, even though that's not part of the disturbed area. So I have a couple additional slides if we have questions, but that's all I really wanted to go over as far as the presentation goes. So I can answer any questions.
What's the current depth of the pond?
It is about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's about 6 feet.
So you really think there's only a foot of sediment over the 60+ years that thing's been there?
Yeah, so there were, so Bruce can talk more about that, but there were sediment surveys. So there were surveys taken of the sediment to the top of the soft sediment and then to refusal. So
We looked at this 5 years ago. We started this process. We thought there was going to be a lot more sediment. We were pleasantly surprised there was only 7.
Shocking.
Just from my staff and everything, interacting with the pond, sometimes having to go in there, taking things out. So we thought there was a lot more, but after further investigations, only a foot, we were very surprised. Presently, like I said, pleasantly surprised.
All right, so we're gonna go all this work, I mean, and bring it back to its original 7-foot depth. And then as far as the outflow, is that still a problem child on the other side of the road, or have you guys hog that out a little bit?
Fix the outfall, and then on the other side of the road, we camera, we check it all out, everything is in great condition.
The flow is good?
Yep, flowing great. And some of the main reasons for the bank deterioration over the years as well is a few years back, I gotta say 2 years back, the previous DPW inserted a metal plate to control the height of the pond, and more specifically during the fishing derby season. So they wanted the pond high, so they raised the level of the pond. So over, like I said, this was happening for about 15 years, and up and down, up and down. That's why we have that erosion. So where it is right now is the correct depth. We did the head wall, and we actually, it's not a plunge pool, but we have riprap that doesn't allow debris to get into that storm scepter anymore, not the storm scepter, but the outfall. So we've been doing, like you said, getting it all prepared just for this. And also, I don't know if Chris, you know this as well, we're doing a new BMP out there on the baseball side of the facility that's taking all the storm water and all of that out the parking lots on the east side. That's going to come down and go into a rain garden, bioretention area. We have some plantings and things like that. So we're doing stuff even on the old portion to help with obviously the surfactants and pollutants and everything else before it gets into the pond.
You know, for the life of me, I could not figure out why those shores started breaking up. I haven't been here my whole life. And it was like, what is going on that's causing that erosion? I couldn't come up with any explanation. So thank you for that. The dewatering area is going to be where in the parking area? It said north of, so where are they going to dewater?
it's kind of in the little notch. If the pond's a heart, it's kind of at the top notch there.
It's up in there?
So
Yeah.
the island, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
The island, everybody wants to fish from the island on the opposite side of the pond or in the
Where there's like isn't there a bunch of tables or something over there right now?
Yep,
So that area, there'll be well, we're planning for the amphitheater over there, so it'd be disturbed anyway. So it seems like a good spot to set up the dewatering operations. And then you'll have to truck it over the tributary and then go out the parking lot.
So you're gonna,
and I don't want to get into details about the amphitheater, but while you're here, it doesn't have any impact on what we're discussing. But the amphitheater, I think, is going to be a great addition to the facility. Seeing the new high school and everything that's going on, we don't have a summer concert series place anymore. We're setting up in the center field now. So this is going to be, I think it's going to work out great for the community. You have shade trees and everything else. You're not in the blazing sun. And like you said, my feelings as well is that the park is way underutilized. A lot of things. No one goes there except during the sports seasons, and that's it in the fishing derby. So by doing all this work, getting it back to its original conditions, better water quality for the pond itself to support fishery, fish and trout and everything else for the fishing derby, I think it's going to be a win for everybody.
so enlighten me on BMPs for dewatering. Why in the world wouldn't you just pump it across the street with some sort of filtration?
I think because of the area of disturbance, we have to keep that stormwater on site. You can't just discharge it. So there's certain regulations, I don't know them all by heart, but you have to treat the water from a single property on that site.
No, I mean,
Do
I've
you
seen
mean
plenty of.
for the actual dredging
Right,
operation?
so pre-dredging, you have to
Yep,
de-water, so I've seen
Yep.
plenty of like river streams, which this is really just an inflated stream.
Yep.
That they just pump it across.
Yeah, so initially what will happen is they'll put a pump at the outlet,
Yes,
try and get as much water out of it as possible by just pumping it through the outlet. And then this is the deepest part of the pond. So likely they'll either make a channel to get closer to the outlet just to keep the pump going, or they can create the pump here and they will be just discharging it into
And
the outlet.
Those lines are the cofferdam.
These are channels so that it doesn't erode as the water comes here. The cofferdams are up here.
At the two inlets.
Yeah, so the
Okay.
cofferdams are really just to keep the stormwater that's continuing to come into the pond so that isn't bringing sediment into the pond.
So that's gonna be pumped into the dewatering area.
No, that won't be pumped. That'll just flow by gravity because the whole pond will be down.
Oh, I got you, and then
Yeah,
you're
so
gonna
this
channel
will
it
just Stop the sediment.
I
and
got you.
Everything will just flow by
by
gravity
channel.
while it's dewatered, but they will have to pump because there's no low level outlet to the pond. So they are gonna have to
Push
pump
it-
or
push it
siphon.
out,
Yeah, I
right.
mean, they may siphon it at first, but it's gonna be for a month, so they're gonna have to figure out some kind of continual pumping operation.
Could that cause water to rise in those wetland areas on the other side of the cofferdams, or is that?
No, because it's an unrestricted flow.
It will, yeah.
The culverts are only so big, it'll accept flow on maximum capacity, correct?
Yeah, do you mean, will it draw down the wetlands a little bit?
And then will it like in a storm, will the water go higher on the other side of the dam,
On
the upstream side,
the ups.
Above the cofferdams.
above the cofferdam?
Upstream of the cofferdams.
It may a little bit, but it'll probably be just like a rock weir. So the
Oh.
water will go through it. It's just trying to catch the sediment,
Got it.
not really keep the water level up.
There's also a state certification, state permit that you're trying to get, right, for this dredging?
Yeah, there's
The
several
WGC.
other permits. Yeah, so there's a state MIPA permit.
Mhm.
So we have an ENF and an EIR coming, and then there's a 401 certification that we need for the dredging. So that's what the sediment sampling is being conducted for that permit.
We know sort of the timeline on that, or how that goes?
I don't have an exact timeline. We just collected the samples, so it should be in the next couple of months that we can get the actual application for the 401 together. Yeah, and the MIPA public hearing was actually last night. So we're moving along on that, but that was just for the expanded ENF, so we're still doing EIR.
So I have a question for you. You have a standing NOI and, I mean, we can accept this NOI with these conditions as laid out before us, or we could have taking your standing NOI and just put special conditions that are the same.
Thought it was easier going through this
Keep-
process.
keep it clean.
Based on the scope of the work, we thought it necessary to go through this process. So, it's the state and all the state requirements, so we need all of this to show the state as well, so,
Because the dredging and the stormwater is specific to the state, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're wanting to see an order of conditions
Yeah.
specifically for the project for the state permit.
There's a second sports field, I guess, like turf field. That'll be extra fertilizer, right? Extra care. Is there anything in the plan to mitigate that additional sort of chemical runoff?
There is not, no.
Well, our BMPs that were installed.
Yeah, just the rain garden.
Those grasses and plants, that's the main goal of those plants is to take all that contaminate or not contaminate those chemicals. But never mind that, those sports fields way up top, they are a long way away from that pond.
I mean, they're right in the bordering vegetative wetland though, right? So it'll all just run down into the pond.
Well, it's been
It is now. Yeah.
What about mitigation for the additional roadway? I know it's not pavement, but the roadway and the paths, is there any additional mitigation for those that are in the DPW or near it?
All
Is that in the plan already?
asphalt
It will be asphalt?
crushed.
Oh,
So the
right.
fillings that we get from paving,
Yeah.
things like that, so it's not an impervious surface, it's permeable. Walking past like 2 feet wide or so.
Yeah. It would, some of those do cross into BVW, so I think it would be good to see specifics on that, like what kind of plantings, what's gonna be done is particular on there, right?
Isn't that laid out?
I don't know, maybe, I didn't see anything for some of those specific
Yeah,
pathways.
we can, so this set is really like a 50% set. So we were concentrating on a lot of the plantings around the pond for the restoration work. So the rest of the park doesn't have a full planting plan yet.
Okay.
But we can certainly work on that. I mean, the walking paths are essentially disconnected impervious. I see you're talking more the areas that are basically going over the BVW and the ones that are really close.
Yeah, the ones that were like
Yeah.
within 20 feet of the.
Yeah, we
wetland.
can definitely, put some plantings there that would help with the riparian zone.
Yeah, corners of the field that are inside of
Separation.
inside of the buffer zone.
Yep.
Is there a plan for permanent limit of work markers, the wetlands markers, like permanent ones, so that there is no more encroachment on the wetlands once this is
We can
all
do
said and
that.
done?
Yeah, that's something that also DEP suggested. So if that's something you want,
Yeah.
you can condition it with that. It's fine.
Yeah, I received comments already from the conservation commission. I wasn't able to share those with you. That was one of their recommendations.
Yeah.
Is to keep those markers in place.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, just because we would just to protect it going forward. I mean, once all this work is done, we just want it to stay.
Put my net in to answer another question too. It's not in the design yet, but I need to talk to Jeff about this. My plan is to also put a fence in the park, a 6-foot chain link, probably black coated fence to go from the west side, the north side, and the east side of the park. Just to keep
Elements out.
well, I'm trying to be tactful in how I say.
I know what you're saying.
Vandalism and
No, absolutely, yeah,
like that because
protect it.
I want people to enjoy the park, to get the whole experience of the park, doing the walking path up around the whole perimeter of the park, right back down, and the neighborhood can walk back there. And really said, a lot of the property is underutilized, especially that
Yeah.
whole upper part. It's all nice, forestry and wildlife and all kinds of things. That was my plan. That was one of my reasons for doing that, to keep from people that they grass clipping, guardrails, trees, all those things. Didn't help with trash.
Yeah, that was my next question. What do you, everything you guys, all your grass clippings, are you guys gonna have a site? Maybe in a dry area where you dump all that, or you guys,
No bag our.
you just leave it right on site?
What about snow removal?
Excuse me?
Snow removal?
Snow removal, there won't be any snow removal.
Okay.
Just in the front parking lot. That'll be it. We're not gonna be plowing like we do the rail trail or anything else.
Got it. Okay.
And now, once we get underway, and right now we have to go through planning. I know you have some type of patrol. I know the park is only open from dawn to dusk.
Yeah.
There's always people in there, so once this gets, hopefully it gets developed. The police department, they have that little four-wheeler. They were thinking about putting a satellite station down there at some point, so. This will be some, see, to help once this is developed.
So when you're building these fields, you're gonna have silt fences or wattles or for the construction. And to Jason's point, like, to stabilize that area near the, the streams. I mean, I could go either way on that because I like to look at streams and, you start planting stuff there and then you don't touch it. And next thing you know, it's overgrown,
Right.
It's trees.
Right.
And I kind of like the openness of the plan.
Sure.
So, I mean, me personally, I'd be all right with, some sort of grass right up to it. I don't know what the other members of the board feel like, but I just know from working against Mother Nature my whole life, she is a force.
Yes, she is.
And, I want to be forward thinking on this. I really think that we should dredge it a little bit deeper personally, but if the original depth, it was 7 feet, that's shocking to me, but,
Right. Like you
just
said,
get in front of it.
It wasn't a pond that was there. It was built
Right, I knew that.
engineers to handle this one runoff in that area.
Do you know what the current, how the fields are managed right now? Like I was up there a couple weeks ago and it was mowed for sure. I don't know, when I drive by, I see kids on the baseball field, but I don't know if it's being used right now for soccer and lacrosse. But going back to your concern of you do this big project, you put a lot of money into it. And now instead of just an open field where kids can run around, you might actually put some stronger chemicals. And, I don't know what it is about us in this country, but we love big fields of bright neon green grass, which is, of course, bad for the environment. So I'm just thinking about going right back down to the water. It says that there's no concern for rare species. That was based on a 15th edition of something in 2021, but then there's a snapping turtle swimming right here. So, but not that snapping turtles are necessarily on that list, but obviously there's wildlife, there's fish that people are fishing for. So would that just kind of raises a concern of we have these beautiful new fields and we want to keep them neon green, probably. So what does it look like now? What chemicals, what fertilizers are going there now? And is it going to be the same or more? And are they going to be the same or more once you have these?
It's gonna be the same. We do a 5-step program through the town. We have MSDS sheets we send out. We notify rec department, school department. We have an integrated pest management system that's required for the schools that we treat and everything else. We do notifications. We go through the whole gambit. Yep. We have an on-staff person that has their pesticide license.
We can wait for all the other information to come through before we. Right.
That's fine with me.
We should probably
You
continue.
want to
I
continue?
think so, yeah, because we should wait and get I'd like to see the response to all the comments, if you guys have them, and then the plantings plan that they asked for, and then the sediment, the results from the sediment survey. If we can see that too, that'd be great.
So
So,
what do you want to give it, a couple weeks?
yeah, I mean, how much, you guys want a couple, you want to, till the next
Yeah.
meeting or till,
I would wait till we get, if you want to see the sediment, results, we'll just have to wait and then I will.
Okay.
Weeks for that.
Alex, when that comes in.
okay, so we
have
can
to
just,
Continue to a date certain.
Yeah.
The next one's the 25th, and then after that, we're on July 9th. Do either of you have a realistic thought of,
They
So the
said,
11th?
are you wanting to wait till the MIPA certificate is in hand, or are you just looking for the sediment results?
I would like to see that. That would,
Want to see all that, get our.
yeah, probably all of it, just to,
That's over
Be
a
safe.
month,
July 9th?
right? I forget, he said, because there's a comment period, an appeal period, and so probably the July.
you want to do we could do the July 25th too, we could push.
I can let you know once we figure out more, because I think they should know a sure date for the MIPA certificate soon, so.
and we can continue it to the
could-
9th meeting, and then if we have to change it and continue it again, that's not a problem.
Yeah, we could just.
At least if we do the 9th, then if you have it, great. If not, we'll just, if that works.
Probably be after that, but.
No worries.
Get all our ducks in a row, so you have.
Okay.
Everything from state, the plantings and everything else that. you guys are looking
Okay, perfect. Sounds good.
What's the, I'm sorry if I missed this, but what's the proposed timeline from start to finish?
I probably 2 years, I would say.
oh,
But it'd be one,
Funding to get started, so.
right, yeah, that's a big one.
mhm.
We're trying to fund it with grants. You're talking about $10 million here.
Right.
Yeah.
And our current, what we're currently doing in town and the new high school and everything else. So my plan is to get a shovel-ready project going through all the environmental, everything else, and start going for park grants.
Yeah.
I already have a team in place, and once we get approval, we're gonna get out there and start applying for grants.
Are you guys considering going back and asking for CPC funds?
I want to go through the grant process first, see
Okay.
what we can get instead of draining those funds down.
Okay.
So,
I'm on CPC too, that's why I was curious. Of course.
so like you said,
Okay,
we'll keep you abreast of everything that's
Okay.
going on and everything to you. We'll get all the other information as it comes in.
okay, that's perfect. I'm gonna-
Oh, just one other-
Go ahead, Jason.
Sorry. Just one other point of clarification, make sure I understood it. The square footage of BVW around the pond is 1 foot, like a 1 foot perimeter, and that's how you came up with the 1,600 square feet?
Right, yeah.
And that's the previously like the limited border boundaries?
Yeah,
Okay.
so he didn't really, the way it was written, it was maybe not ideal. But he delineated the bank and then just said that there was BVW limit, like he just did wetlands and he didn't necessarily say. So when I talked to him, he basically let me know that it was just
Incorrect?
no, it was just a very, very thin piece of BVW. So that's why I put the 1,600 is probably even conservative. Because I think in some of those areas, there isn't anything.
Mhm.
Just because it's just grass right up to the bank.
Okay. All right, that was my only other
Yeah.
question.
I don't know if I agree with that thinking, but it's all right. All right, I'll make a motion to continue this meeting to July 9th, 2025.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you.
thank you.
Project monitoring. PO 2025-01 stream alteration at 633 to 759 Summers Road.
Is this the sheep farmer, Alex?
Yep,
Okay. Have you heard anything back from
I
them?
sent him a letter, we have a copy of the certified mail.
Okay,
He received it.
got it.
Thank you for
Mark,
printing
you're
that out
from
for us.
James. So he hasn't contacted him.
Okay.
Um,
What do you guys want to do? You want to issue another fine to get him to come on to another meeting so that he'll talk to DPW or,
Yeah, non-responsive, so.
I mean, non-responsive, we need to.
Bruce, he hasn't approached you, has he?
You guys haven't heard from them, right? No, okay.
Find that too. I instructed Mr. Berman here as well. I see him every meeting, he has somebody else talking.
Yes, he does.
I want to hear from the person himself. W, not some other person who's gonna do this, gonna do that. We need to hear from the person's mouth who is in charge of the property, owns the property. So. Landscape.
I called him back, left a message. Alex.
I've called him too.
Feelings with him as well, and,
You know who that was that he brought with him?
I
Yeah,
know.
Ryan Preventure.
Yeah,
Oh. And what, how are they related?
He was the one who actually, to my understanding, he's the one that actually constructed the
Yeah,
Oh,
stream
we
crossing.
helped him construct the,
okay.
whatever you want to call that. Not sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure what you call that exactly.
a culvert,
A culvert,
yeah.
culvert with a road? Yes. Okay. Do we need to vote on that or do we just need to?
Yeah, so we have, last time we fined 300, is that the same amount you want to fine again? Different number?
What do you guys think?
We can just choose a number.
It can be 300 or less.
Go down.
Let's go down.
Yeah.
But 150, 200,
I'm fine with keeping it where it was. I mean, why go down?
100.
So
What do you guys
Yeah.
think?
we need a motion on this or?
Well, you guys got to pick a price.
Yeah.
Name your price.
Well, I mean, what's the message? If we slide the scale down, it's not,
Get easier and easier.
right, it's just
Yeah.
gonna eventually go to nothing or less.
Yeah.
Just keep it where it's at.
Okay,
Yeah.
300.
Yeah,
I
Excuse
would
me.
vote on it, and then Liz, I just need you to sign it.
okay,
Fill everything else in,
okay, that's fine.
but the price is here, 300.
Okay, perfect.
But yeah, vote on it.
So I just need someone to make a
So I
motion
make a
to,
motion
yeah.
to find what's his name?
I'm not sure, it's just,
Huh?
James Haber.
James Haberin.
Yep.
Another $300 until he comes before us. At the next meeting. If he does not come before us the next meeting, then we'll revisit it again.
all's in favor?
Hi.
All right.
Okay.
Time bond, stormwater management plan presentation.
No.
The way to present on the screen is,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
is that on the website?
So it's on
Uh,
our agenda. You should be able to click the link at the top of our agenda, our meeting agenda, or Jamie helped the other individual.
Yeah. This one's left.
But the agenda's on our website. Yeah, here, I'll help.
Alex, where do I sign this one? Sign here or, right, I sign here, right? Enforcement officer? I'm not the offender.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't do anything
The tables
wrong.
have turned.
I know, right? I didn't do anything wrong.
Not this time.
I know, not this time, right?
Hey, someone needs to.
Coming up?
Yes, it's a requirement.
I agree.
you wanna do a
Prepared to be bored. Okay,
No. Yeah, they have to join it.
Thank you.
There's something,
That's the old building.
first grade here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a stage. A million years.
Oh, was it?
It was an
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
elementary
know
school.
Oh, it was?
Rooms.
Is that what you said, elementary?
Yeah, it was Pleasantville Elementary.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, my first grade class right there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Ancient history.
Nice.
I was born in a chuck wagon.
So fun.
Birthday's in the 1800s.
I know it's not. You're not that old. Sit up there. Sit next to Megan.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to.
Come on.
Right there.
Snuck in.
How are you?
That good, huh?
Where do I?
Yeah, so just make sure you mute yourself on the laptop. You're good.
What have I missed?
Oh, maybe you come in, you did
Yeah.
potentially?
That might be it. What, excuse me? Raise your hand if you'd like to speak, please. Oh my God, we're on camera.
Did you wear your best outfit?
Huh?
Did you wear your best outfit?
This?
To be on camera?
Oh, God, no.
There
we did
goes.
it.
What are we talking about?
Technology Payments.
Hello,
Hmm,
we're good.
can't see it.
Thank you.
Can't hear. My hair's
So
block solid.
I'm
What else is new?
Kelly Crumrine, and this is Haley Rivers. We're from Time Bond, and we are here to present your stormwater program update. The purpose of this meeting is to provide an update on East Long Meadow's ongoing stormwater management program. We will go over permit year 7 accomplishments and any planned activities for the next permit year, which is 8. And the permit year ends at the end of June. What is stormwater? Rainwater that falls on paved surfaces and lawns becomes stormwater. If it doesn't soak into the ground, stormwater heads for the nearest storm drain. Storm drains feed to outfalls that dump stormwater into waterways. Stormwater picks up trash or chemicals. That is stormwater pollution. Stormwater pollution is the fastest growing type of water pollution in Massachusetts. EPA small MS4 stormwater program. MS4 is Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. It's a program that's jointly administered by the EPA and the Mass DEP. Meadows MS4 area includes all drainage within the urbanized area, which is the red hatched section of town. Notice of intent under the 2016 MS4 general permit was submitted on September 28th, 2018. The authorization to discharge stormwater was received on April 5th, 2019, and was set to expire on June 30th of 2022. The permit was administratively continued on May 6th, 2022, until a new permit was issued. Stormwater management plan was finalized on July 1st, 2019, and it's updated annually. They have not issued a new permit.
Still haven't.
No,
Oh my goodness.
we were kind of close.
Oh, no. I remember last year when you guys came, you were like, we haven't issued a permit yet. And we're like, wow, they're really slow.
It's, there's kind of like no end in sight at this point.
There's a lot happening. Crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's no way we could adhere to it. 20% of replace the catch basin every year.
We'll get to that part. We'll get to that part.
Yeah, we're gonna get to it. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Good in theory,
It is.
but
Yeah.
unrealistic in application.
Another unfriended mandate that obviously you all know.
I'm using my nice words tonight, Bruce.
Nice words. God.
East Long Meadow Stormwater Management Plan talks about the minimum control measures, which include public education and outreach, public involvement and participation, illicit discharge detection and elimination program, construction site stormwater runoff control, stormwater management in new development and redevelopment, and good housekeeping and pollution prevention.
So one of the things that East Long Meadow needs to keep You fall within the Connecticut River watershed, which ultimately drains to the Long Island Sound. The Long Island Sound has a maximum daily load for nitrogen. And so you are required to have annual timed messages on nutrient pollution related topics in regards to nitrogen. You also want to keep in mind that your stormwater management BMPs should be optimized for nitrogen removal. And you have your good housekeeping standard operating procedures for your town properties. You street sweep twice per year. And we completed a nitrogen source identification report for you in 2022 based on the requirements of the permit, showing what stormwater catchments would have the most loading potential, and therefore those are potential sites for BMPs.
They measure the inflows and the outflows.
So the nitrogen source report, it did a desktop analysis and it looked at the topography and the land use of the areas within the catchments for your drainage system and tried to identify areas where we believed that nitrogen would have the highest capacity for entering the system. And therefore, at those outfalls, it would make the most sense to implement BMPs to treat the water before it goes back out into the environment.
Was that a filtration process?
And to speak to your point as far as using chemicals and things like that at Heritage Park. So one of the outfalls is at Heritage Park and around Heritage Park. So if we did get any high hits of chemicals or anything else that entered the pond in an outflow, we would get hits, and then we would need to identify where that is coming from. So we're doing that the whole entire time right now. So just so you know that we are aware and understand what's required.
That water goes right into Springfield.
Yeah, I'll keep
I know
going.
exactly where that water goes.
Yes. Okay, so the minimum control measure 1 includes public education and outreach. That is annual messages to residents, businesses, institutions, and commercial facilities. It's led by PVPC, Connecticut River Stormwater Committee. And the town does some of its own additional messaging. Pretty sure, yes? Okay. The minimum control measure 2 includes public involvement and participation by providing your stormwater management plan online. I believe there's a rain barrel discount program, and this meeting counts towards that.
So your illicit discharge detection and elimination program. Hello, I've done most of your field work this year. This year, we did a desktop analysis and we realized that there were some newly mapped outfalls, and some of that was in new development, and I think some of that just possibly had previously been missed. And so we added those outfalls into your mapping, and they hadn't undergone any of the field work yet. So we started back at phase 1 with them, and we screened them under dry weather conditions. So we got through 19 of them this year. I think there's a total of 28, so we should be able to finish them by next year.
Nice.
In addition to that, we have screened 92 key junction structures. I have another image later on in this presentation that shows better what a key junction structure is, but basically it's a point in the system that is accepting like larger sections of the system. So we are targeting areas of the system that are receiving multiple inputs, and therefore we're not chasing the entire system, but we're trying to see key places to check and make sure there aren't any sewer connections that remain. We still have 4 field days remaining. 2 of those will be tomorrow and Friday. But unfortunately, this year we did find some evidence of likely sewer connections. Those were identified for 3 catchments. We identified them down to the exact pipe segment source. And we have relayed that to Mark. And in the report that I'm going to develop that should be getting to you by the end of the month, I am going to have like maps showing where those are. And we're going to recommend that you do some kind of like dye or smoke testing, or look at them with a camera, see if you can confirm where that source is coming from, and if necessary, disconnect. So we will try to further address that in permit year 8. And additionally, we are also sampling outfalls during wet weather conditions. Those outfalls have some kind of system vulnerability factor. And we did 3 days of field work this year under heavy rain. And we didn't see anything that indicated a likely sewer input in those catchments.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
You said disconnect.
Yes.
How in the world are you gonna do that
Um,
without it pushing somewhere else?
So, in this case, it seems like there might be a couple of basements that are draining their laundry to the stormwater. And so I think it would just be a matter of, all of them have sewer lines in the road. I think it would just be a matter of tying those back into the actual sewer.
How does that even happen
Sweet.
that they don't get, how did it, was it never
It's
attached to the? sewer
DPW
line?
employees' homes.
So part of this too, and it goes along with sewer too, so we have a clear water disconnect program as well. People are trying to some pumps and things like that into our sewer system, it's illegal. So part of our program, just like stormwater, is do smoke and dye testing.
Yeah.
And this is how we locate these homes, we pick a specific area, throw smoke in those pipes, and when people come running out of dies and things
Wow.
like that.
Warfare.
We get pushback from residents, but we do work with them, educate them, and then start that.
So they consciously made the choice to tie into the wrong thing.
So like.
Hell yeah.
So give an example, you have water in your basement. You
Yeah.
have no other way to discharge, you have a sewer outlet right there. People are tying in their sump pumps into their sewer system. So remember this as well. So based on our total loads that we sent to Springfield, all that extra rainwater, and I don't have the paper in my hand, millions of gallons of water we're paying Springfield to treat
Right.
that we don't have to pay them for. So we're driving up our sewer rates and everything else along with this. So just keep that in the back of your head, but it's the same concept as far as our stormwater system as well.
That's crazy.
Is this your first time presenting to us?
No, they've been here
They were here
before.
last year.
All right.
They used to do it when we had the Board of Public Works.
Yeah, no, I've been involved in this a while.
This is unfortunately the first time we have found a likely sewer connection though. And it was like all at once on the first day we were out.
Or,
Okay.
Should have it all.
yeah, 160,
We have a very lucky,
20.
he's discovered all 3 of East Long Meadows and one other town. And it's all been like
Oh, no.
connections, and it's very funny. He's just very lucky. Like they were all just doing their laundry on that specific day.
Oh, that is pretty lucky, actually. Yeah.
It's kind of funny. And like I even had him troubleshoot like our equipment because I was like, oh my gosh, like I just want to double check. And he
Yeah.
ran it with his water bottle water and it came totally clean. And it was an interesting field day.
Can see that.
Oh yeah.
Exciting.
But we will absolutely work with you to address that, and we'll find a path forward for sure.
Cool.
And last point here, the field work should continue in future permit years until all catchments are complete. I'm hoping that field work will be complete by the end of permit year 8 or very early into permit year 9, just to give you a bit of a buffer to get things set before the end of permit year 10, which is when the permit ends.
Got it.
In addition to that, you have a stormwater bylaw. You revised it to be in accordance with the new development and redevelopment conditions under the permit. And that was revised in April 2022. And I checked in with Mark and in accordance with the bylaw in permit year 7, you have had 5 site plan reviews, 9 site inspections, and 0 enforcement actions, which is very positive.
Nice. Okay, that's me. So the minimum control measures 4 and 5 talk about construction, site and post-construction stormwater management. The nitrogen source ID report completed in 2022 identified areas of high nutrient loading catchments and potential retrofit opportunities. There was an MVP grant assessed that assessed low impact development opportunities at 10 priority culverts, including conceptual designs, estimated costs, and anticipated implementation schedule. that was scheduled to start in fiscal year 25 pending funding. Not sure where that stands at this point.
We didn't get the funding.
Okay.
Submitted, yeah, another grant for two of the culverts,
Okay.
same ones.
But in good news, the town selected Heritage Park for the demonstration BMP retrofit. And we are designing, I think they're at 50% design for the construction of a bioretention basin. Tell where this is, because it's just the engineer drawing, but you said it was kind of on the eastern side of the
It's on the
park?
east.
Yeah, okay. So is that on this side of the
It's on
pond?
the- Yes, it's on the east side of the pond.
Okay.
And then on the southern side as well. So the bottom, right near the road. So all the parking lot runs down and before it, there's actually a slot cut out of the parking lot to allow the stormwater to go down there, probably because it ponded and iced up over time many, many moons ago. So we thought this would be a great place to take all that stormwater runoff and put a bioretention area in there.
Yep, so
Is that
we're
a
working,
state wetland?
No, not there.
It's on an upland?
No, it's down bottom near North Main Street. It's towards the,
Oh, so you're gonna build a pond within the pond?
no.
At
It's
the outflow?
outside the pond, but it's gonna, the overflow will end.
To the right of the pond, if I'm staring at it, right? If I'm standing on North Main Street and I'm looking at the
To the
pond
right.
to the right, right?
To the right,
Next to the road.
right.
Yep.
Yes.
And then it's gonna outflow into that culvert across the street.
Because I believe there's just a catch basin there. Isn't there, right in the middle of the grass?
Right.
So we're gonna end up taking that, obviously, extend that top or put a pipe there, however it's gonna be constructed, allow that water to sit, get all those chemicals and stuff absorbed into the plants, and whatever overflows or everything else will go into our overflow pipe and then out the outflow.
So there was two, you said? Just one? Got it.
And I can confirm that catch basin is there because I sampled it last week. And it was clean.
that's it.
That's fine.
For minimum control measure 6, that includes good housekeeping and pollution prevention on permittee owned operations. So your like town properties, you do the ongoing catch basin inspection and cleaning. Twice a year street sweeping and implementation of operations and maintenance program for municipal facilities and activities. So these are just a list of things planned for permit year 8, but it's basically all the same stuff that you've been doing up to now. Especially with the non-issuance of the new permit, we're just kind of like continuing on with all the stuff we've been doing. East Long Meadows planned for permit year 8. Again, just the same stuff that you've been doing for public education and outreach, continue with the annual messaging, continue to get updates from the PVPC, Connecticut River Stormwater Committee. They kind of lead your public outreach efforts, public involvement and participation. You make the updated stormwater management plan available online for public review and comment, and just consider other ways, safe ways to involve public in stormwater program. They could come to these meetings.
And for your IDDE program, we will continue the dry weather outfall screenings until all the newly mapped outfalls are complete. That should maybe be another day of field work. And then continuation of your dry weather key junction structure screenings under dry weather conditions as well. I think at the moment, there are about 60 or 70 of those left in town. So we'll see where we're at after the last 4 days of field work, and we'll make a game plan for permit year 8. And then for your IDDE program, once again, we're going to recommend further investigation of those likely sewer efforts, try to develop a plan for disconnection. And then lastly, continuation of your wet weather outfall screenings. So I believe there are about 50 outfalls left that have system vulnerability factors that we'll need to screen and permit year 8, permit year 9, permit year 10 until complete. And the sampling parameters for those are based on the impairments of the receiving water bodies they go to. And it is the final phase of this catchment investigation fieldwork. So you are on track to meet the requirement to be completed by the end of permit year 10, which I believe is June 30th, 2028.
Yeah. Just continuing on with permit year 8 activities, continue performing and tracking site plan reviews and inspections. Seems you've been doing a good job with that, and enforcing the revised bylaw. Good housekeeping and pollution prevention for permittee owned operations, continued implementation of good housekeeping, standard operating procedures, annual requirements, including advancing the design and permitting, and seeking funds to implement the BMP retrofits. That's kind of an ongoing process. We're working on the one in Heritage Park now, but I think you have a list of ones to continue doing. And actually, when they were talking about the pond project, I was thinking of ways we can use some of the ones that they're doing for this part of it too. So I will.
Good thing, we can take existing
Yeah.
projects, and put them on our
Yep.
report, well, the high school.
I'm like, oh, we can get credit for that.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's what we did.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just keep up with your record keeping. You guys do a good job with that. So in summary, East Long Meadow is actively meeting the requirements under the MS4 program. The permit year 7 annual report is due to be submitted to EPA and Mass DEP 28th, 2025. The MS4 general permit was administratively continued until a new permit is issued, which I don't know. Future requirements, just annual reporting and tracking. Permit year 10 is that the current permit like kind of projected out to, and that is when you have to complete all the phase 2 map and catchment investigations, which you're on track to do, and the new permit requirements.
So new permit
Proposed.
So there was a draft of the MS4 permit released in November of 2024. It is available on EPA's website. I know that both Mark and Bruce are very familiar with the new permits, but I'm going to summarize them briefly here. So number one, they're going to update the area regulated under the permit, which is the urbanized area.
There it is.
To the 2020 census. Currently, we're operating under the 2010 census. It makes a very small difference for East Long Meadow, where it kind of just covers that chunk of town. I'm not particularly worried about any major changes, especially to your IDDE field work, because I believe in that area, we've screened most of your MS4 already. Because even though there might be some outfalls that technically fall within that one little blank space, I think most of them have like one catch basin or one manhole that's in the regulated area, and therefore that outfall is regulated under the permit. So we've already been there. So it's not like, you know, if this goes into effect, you suddenly have, 10 more outfalls to screen, right? But in addition, there are some new public education and outreach requirements. And so in addition to what you've currently been doing, they are focusing on language translation. So, and they're also asking for more active and interactive messages to better allow for a two-way flow of information. We're not entirely sure what that's going to look like yet. And again, this is all proposed. It's not finalized, and it's not something you have to do quite yet. But you are currently involved with the Connecticut River Stormwater Committee, and I imagine that that will continue to be an organization that handles a lot of your messaging. And speaking of that, for the environmental justice mapping in Massachusetts, it does state that 2.1% of households in East Long Meadow speak a language other than English, but it doesn't identify what those languages are. However, I assume that your partnership with that stormwater committee, they will start translating a lot of their messaging into Spanish or Russian or other languages really common to this area. And so I believe that, you know, once they do that, you would just be able to spread that to your community, and that would cover your requirement. But again, this is still not finalized. So for construction and post-construction, it's largely the same requirements. It's just asking that in your local code, you apply and adopt any updates. Currently, you're completely up to date on that. If that changes, we will let you know. And for impaired waters and TMDLs, they are looking at nutrient and bacteria TMDLs that were finalized after 2016 that will then be incorporated into impaired waters. And so it might change what we have to sample at your outfalls. But currently the only impaired waters within East Long Meadow is the nitrogen impairment for the Long Island Sound. None of the other waters in East Long Meadow trigger any of the other impaired waters requirements. So I don't necessarily know that that will affect you greatly anyway. And then the new NOI would be due within 90 days, and the stormwater management program update would be due a year after the permanent effective date. There'd be a $500 filing fee, but you can do electronic reporting. I think that'll be a major lift either, just something to keep in mind as this progresses, if it progresses. And so for the IDDE program, it is basically restating to meet the 2016 general permit schedule for completing catchment investigations, your phase 2 mapping, any ongoing screening. You are well within that time frame. There shouldn't be any issues there. And really the only major water quality benchmark level that changes is ammonia. Currently, we're screening for anything greater than or equal to 0.5 milligrams per liter. That would change to be 0.1 milligrams per liter. Typically, what we see when we sample is an almost non-detect of ammonia. So I don't think that will impact you too significantly greatly either. And then there might be some new considerations for EPA generated data, which would include pharmaceuticals and personal care products and data from watershed groups. Again, that's part of impaired waters, and you don't currently have any additional requirements, so I'm not sure that that applies to you. We are also currently requesting clarification on where and how changes for ranking and illicit parameters apply for communities that are significantly complete with their IDDE program and the fieldwork. So, you know, if we're continuing with the 2016 general permit timeline and you are finished by permit year 10, we're not really sure what your next steps are, but we'll keep up to date on it. And it might be that you have done your screening, which would be nice. So they're also going to ask for you to develop a more formal drainage system asset management program, and that'll be part of your municipal good housekeeping program and tracking and record keeping. And they're asking you to establish that within 2 years for critical assets. And that, of course, includes the catch basin upgrade and replacement prioritization program, which we know is it is something that has been flagged by many of our communities as something that is just outside the realm of possibility. It says to develop this program within a year, prioritizing any catch basins that do not comply with the current Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook, which means that they have a deep sump and a hood. And it states that 20% of them would need an upgrade within 5 years, which we know like East Long Meadow has a very extensive stormwater system that would cost a lot of money. And so I know that many communities, and we have submitted comments saying that we don't know that that 5-year timeframe is reasonable. But again, we haven't seen any movement, so we don't know what the finalized requirements will be. It also includes more stringent requirements for catch basin cleaning. And so it asks that you prioritize areas that flood during major storms, that you drain any backwater to the sewer, and you start tracking sump depth, percent full, volume of material removed, whether it is in or outside of the flood zone. And that should be for every catch basin cleaned. I know that East Long Meadow already does a really great job of tracking its catch basins and seeing how much material is removed. But this will be much more in-depth. I believe this is the last slide, but starting in year 2, the permit would also ask each community to install a structural SCM, which is a language change from best management practice to stormwater control measure. Which, but
Semantics, yeah.
But it would
Another
ask,
acronym.
but it would ask that there is a retrofit project on a town property annually and to track nutrient removal. And so we've had a lot of questions from our communities where if you have really limited municipal property within the regulated area, or if you start implementing these BMPs or SCMs, like when do you stop? And so at the moment, we really don't have any guidance because, you know, if we then look back and you have one at the town hall and the senior center and the library and the park and, you know, when do we say like, okay, you've met the requirements and it'll be considered for future projects? That's still all lacking some important clarification. In addition, they're also asking you to increase street sweeping to twice per year, which I believe you are already doing, where you street sweep in the spring and the fall. I think before it was encouraged, I think now it will be required. So I don't think that will be a major lift for you either. It is also going to have some winter road maintenance training, and it is going to require salt reduction methods. And you are also going to have to consider addressing water quality impacts when implementing any new flood management projects. And that is the summary of the 2024 draft permit.
You know, I got all that. We got a little bit of a nitrogen problem. We got a time and money problem. That's my summation.
A lot of money.
Yep.
The stormwater bill keeps going up and up and up because we need to keep up with sweepers, with jet trucks and staffing. I don't know how we're gonna keep up.
Yeah,
It's just,
everybody's in the same boat though. I mean,
some communities that aren't doing anything as well.
I'm sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Nice job. Nice job. Very good presentation. It's like alphabet soup.
Oh, yeah. It has been interesting keeping up with it all for sure. I don't know how to.
You guys took it well, though, like some towns didn't.
I had the little toothpicks, keep my eyes open. Out of my head.
Thank you very much.
Alex, what's the stocking form for?
That's
The,
proof that the letter got to the
certified.
sheep farmer.
Oh, all right.
Certified
Just
mail.
showing that he got it.
I just figured it
Showing that it was
was
delivered.
associated to that, or Porter Road, one of those
Oh,
two.
yes.
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
Oh, you have.
One last
you have
thing.
one
Oh,
more
come on,
Taking a
Alex.
photo.
I'm tired.
All right, 383 Porter.
You're not on the agenda,
House is
Alex.
on the market.
thing. It is on the market,
So,
okay.
we're looking for a 30-day grace period to let him keep it on the market before we take him to summary judgment. And if there's some traction,
I think
revisit.
that's
It's been on the
fine.
market for,
What's he talking about?
it just got back on the market. I put it on the market, took it off. got it
Back
back
on. I'm fine with
30
it.
days.
Oh, what's his name?
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that fine? Everybody okay?
We were okay with letting him keep it on the market for 30 days, see if it sells, right? Yeah,
All the power to him.
we're good. That's fine.
And that's everything.
Okay. Thank you,
Why,
ladies.
why is that house
you.
not selling? I mean, the market's red hot.
Live there. Come
A
on.
lot of reasons.
Huh?
All right, did you get all that?
Guys.
I mean, is it
Litigation and
All that?
location.
the baloney that's going on
Jesus.
regarding this? You think that that's hindering the sale?
That's part of it,
Well,
which is why we have the 30-day
Yeah,
hold to keep it out of litigation.
make a motion there. Close.
I'll make a motion to close this meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
God.